all of you are old timers. This is a sea of friendly faces. One of the most important elements in Buddhist teaching, and what we're going to talk about, are some of the basic beliefs of Buddhism. That we have tenets that we believe in, and there are Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Path, but there are a few basic tenets to Buddhism that everyone should know about. Teachings that if we learn to recognize in ourselves the things we need to learn, the things we need to know, and the things that we need to share, then we know that there's something moral and wholesome about us as people. What Buddhism tries to teach is a set of morals, and morals for us to follow without the threat of heaven or hell. I guess I should say threat of heaven, should I? But without the threat of hell or the rewards of heaven. That we do things well or we do things good just because it is the right thing to do. It is the right thing to do. So that's what we try to practice. Buddhism tries to do that because Buddhism teaches us to take responsibility for ourselves. If we take responsibility for our actions, then we in turn show other people that it is okay to take responsibility. That you don't need to blame society for everything that happens, and you don't need to take everything personal. Because things happen all the time. Good things happen, bad things happen. You've heard that expression, bad things happen to good people. Well, it's true. But good things happen to good people. And good things happen to bad people. It just, that's the way they are. It's very, very random. So what we're trying to learn and what we're trying to teach from this side of the table is that actions can bring harm or they can bring good. And that taking responsibility for your actions makes you a better person. All of you, or most of you, probably have heard me talk about Nikki, a friend of mine from my childhood, and that we had a terrible, terrible fight. And our mom sent us to the church to go to confession, and when I left the church after confession, I felt wonderful, because it's very good to tell someone that you've done something wrong. Even though I may not have accepted responsibility by going to Nikki, I at least went to the church. And for years, that was what I was taught, so that's what I believed in. The fact that you can do something to someone, but that if you go to the church and talk to the minister, that somehow there's a grace that comes from God through that minister down to you as a person. By saying a couple prayers, you can have all those sins wiped away. Well, all of us really, if you think about it, may have a little trouble with that. But that's adult thinking. When I was young, I believed it to the core. I believed all of those things. And then after a few days of Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of trying to duck each other in classes, and it was really hard because he lived catty-cornered to my house. Half of my clothes were in his closet. We were attached at the hip at 11 years old. And the fact that our world had fallen and pulled apart was really, really traumatic. As traumatic as it can be if you're 11 years old, right? But at 11, if you've had a friend for 5 or 6 years, that's nearly half of your life. So how strong can the bond be? As strong as an 11-year-old can have. So whatever age that you're in, whatever place that you're in, all the things that happen to you can be measured by your age or experience in that happening. What happened to Nikki? My mom said, go to confession, so I did. And after a few days, I moped around and moped around and moped around the house and didn't know what to do. And she said, you know, you need to go across the street. And I thought she was going to say, get your clothes back. But she said, you need to go over and apologize. And I told her it wasn't my fault. She said, well, what happened? I said, I don't remember. She said, well, how do you know it's not your fault? I said, because I know it's not my fault. I just don't remember what we were fighting about. It was really my first fight with anyone. So it was kind of traumatic. So when I went across the street and I knocked on the door, which I never ever did, I always walked in because half the time I ate at Nikki's house. His mom was my second mom. Half the time he ate at my house. It just depended on which direction we went when we came down the street from school. If I took a left, I went to his house. We took a right, came to ours. The first thing he'd say was, "Mom, what's for dinner?" Like every kid, "Mom, what's for dinner?" Normal people. So when we fell apart, and our friendship fell apart, then we really were lost. I went and did everything that the wise man told me to do. I went to church. I confessed my sins. I came home, and I was still miserable after a few days. Why didn't it work? The Buddha tells us, no one can defile us. No one can cleanse us. Only we can do that. That is a basic tenet of Buddhism. The most basic of all tenets. That one phrase, no one can defile you and no one can cleanse you. No one can take that holy water and sprinkle it on you and call you cleansed. We cleanse ourselves. We defile ourselves. That happens by your own action. So when we look for action can bring harm or can bring good, does it? Can it? Of course. All of our actions result in another action of some form. Just like science, equal reaction. When we do something, something else is going to happen. So what do we try to do? Basically, we try to take meditation. And we try to learn Vipassana meditation and learn who we are as people. Who we are. Because then we can take responsibility. What happened to Nikki? When I knocked on the door, he opened the door and he started right away, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry." And I said, "I'm sorry." Both of us had to accept responsibility. We're still friends. After so many years, we're still friends. That's because we took responsibility. The church, at that time, I felt wonderful leaving on Saturday afternoon. But by Wednesday, I was miserable. Because I didn't have the freedom for my actions from the person that I harmed. You need to go to the people who you harm to bring peace, to get that back, to celebrate your being together, your happiness together, all of the things that you've done together. You have to love yourself, and then you have to love others. But most of all, you have to love yourself. Big basic tenets of Buddhism. Love yourself, then love other people. Think of who you are and where you are. Learn all the things you need to learn about you. Sitting in meditation is wisdom. That wisdom becomes knowledge of the self. That knowledge really is wisdom. It's who you know, who you are. And then you find out why you are. A lot of people nowadays, you ask them who they are, and they say, "Well, I'm Margaret and I'm a doctor." No, not what are you? Who are you? Well, I don't know who I am. How many of you have woken up in the morning and sometimes wondered, how did I get here? What did I do to get to this place? If you learn to take responsibility for your own actions and everything that you do, and you learn about yourself and why you do the things that you do, would you be in the same place? Or would you be someplace else? We all know, and Buddhism teaches from the very first moment, that life is suffering. We all know this, but it is not a dose of pessimism. It is optimistic to say, life is suffering, but I know what causes suffering. The Buddha told you attachments. And ego is a very, very hard attachment to get rid of. But if I hadn't gone across that street at 11 years old and apologized, I don't think I would be here today. Because somewhere in my teaching in the seminary, it came back. And I realized there were certain questions I could not answer being the faith I was in. So I had to make a choice. And I started to look. And I invite all of you to look and to seek. If Buddhism is your choice, then learn the basic freedoms. Learn the basic freedoms. One of the men who came here at New Year's said, I thought about what you said for many days when I went home. And I said, what did I say? I couldn't remember New Year's, it's a long time ago. And he said, you said Buddhism is freedom. I said, that's true. And he said, yes, it is. And he said, that helped me more than anything has helped me in the past 40 or 50 years. I said, be happy. Celebrate. Be happy. Celebrate in everything that you do. Take responsibility for your actions. Make your actions pure and right. Make your understanding pure and right. Make your actions pure and right. Make your thoughts pure and right. Make your heart pure and right. I wish you peace.